Long before cities, kings, or even written words, there was a moment when everything could have ended. It was not a war, not a great flood, but a choice, a single decision, made by a small group of frightened humans. The tribe had lived for many seasons in a green valley. Food was scarce, but the land was familiar. They knew the rivers, the caves, and the paths where predators hunted. Then, one morning, the ground shook and the sky filled with smoke. The valley was no longer safe. The people gathered in silence, staring at the horizon. If they stayed, they might die. If they left, they would walk into lands no one had ever seen. Some wanted to remain. Others whispered of visions, of dreams warning them to move. Fear spread. Children cried. The hunters argued. For the first time, the tribe stood divided. That night, no one slept. The fire burned low as elders debated, their voices sharp, heavy with dread. At last, one figure rose. With nothing but a spear in hand and fear in their eyes, they stepped forward, out of the valley's shadow. The others watched in silence. The world seemed to hold its breath. Humanity stood at a crossroad, and the choice they made would change history forever. The first steps beyond the valley were heavy with fear. Behind them lay the only home they had ever known. Ahead stretched a plain of endless stone and ice, where nothing moved and the wind cut like knives. Yet the tribe followed the one who had stepped forward, each heartbeat echoing like a drum of fate. For days they walked beneath a sky that never seemed to brighten. Food was scarce. The hunters returned with empty hands. Mothers carried children too weak to cry. At night, the fire sputtered low, and shadows danced across hollow faces. Some whispered that they should turn back before it was too late, but something kept them moving. A sign, a whisper, a feeling no one could name. Some said it was the spirits of the dead guiding them. Others said it was madness. On the fourth night, the hunter spotted glowing eyes in the dark, huge, silent shapes that moved just beyond the fire's reach. The people huddled together, clutching spears, too afraid to breathe. The beasts never attacked, only followed, always watching. The tribe began to wonder, were these creatures hunting them or leading them somewhere? The plain was more than just empty land. It was a test. And deep down, they all knew something waited for them in the shadows. The nights grew colder, sharper, crueler. The wind tore through their skins and furs until every bone ached. Children shivered in silence, their breath white in the air. Hunger gnawed at every stomach. Death seemed close, waiting just beyond the light. On the seventh night, a storm rolled across the plain. The fire the tribe carried sputtered and died. Darkness swallowed them whole. The beasts with glowing eyes drew nearer, their shapes moving through the snow like shadows given flesh. The people gathered close, hearts pounding, knowing they were only moments away from being torn apart. Then one spark, a single flash, a hunter desperate and trembling struck stone against stone. Sparks leapt into dry grass. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then dash flamed. It was small at first, weak and uncertain. But the people shielded it with their hands, their breath, their hope. The fire grew, rising against the storm, pushing back the shadows. The beasts halted, their eyes glowing in fear before vanishing into the night. For the first time, fire belonged to them. It was no longer stolen from lightning or carried from burning trees. It was theirs to make, theirs to keep. Some fell to their knees in awe. Others whispered that it was too powerful, too dangerous. But all of them knew one truth: nothing would ever be the same again. The fire gave warmth, light, and safety. It drove away the beasts and brought hope into the tribe's hearts. For the first time in many nights, the people slept without fear. Yet fire was more than a gift. It was power, and power always divides. Two leaders rose among the tribe. One was fierce, a hunter who believed fire should be used to conquer two burned forests, to drive beasts to take new land. The other was cautious, an elder who believed fire should only protect, never destroy. Around the flames, the tribe argued. Voices grew sharp, eyes full of suspicion. The people began to choose sides. Some gathered close to the hunter, hungry for strength. Others sat with the elder, afraid of what greed might bring. One night, while the tribe slept, the hunter's followers acted. They stole embers from the sacred fire and carried them away, leaving the rest of the people in darkness. When morning came, only ashes remained where the great flame had burned. The betrayal cut deeper than hunger or cold. Brothers turned against brothers. Friends became enemies. Blood was spilled on the frozen ground. The fire had saved them, but now it threatened to tear them apart, and for the first time in history, humanity learned the cost of betrayal. The tribe, broken by betrayal, struggled to survive. Yet in their darkest hour, something new stirred inside them. With fire in their hands, they were no longer prey. They were becoming hunters. The plains were ruled by giant creatures no man had ever dared to challenge. Mammoths with tusks like spears, lions with jaws that could crush bone, bears taller than any man. For generations, humans had hidden from them, fleeing into caves and trees. But now, with fire blazing high and weapons hardened in its heat, the tribe prepared to face what once seemed untouchable. The first hunt was chaos. The mammoth roared as spears rained down. Its shadow fell across the hunters, shaking the earth with every step. One strike could kill, yet the fire torches blinded it, forcing the beast back. Working together, the tribe circled, striking, pushing, refusing to give in. At last, the giant fell. The ground trembled as the mammoth's body crashed into the snow. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then a cry rose, a cry of victory, of defiance. For the first time, humans stood at the top. They were no longer running. The giants had fallen, but victory brought more than food and pride. It brought something dangerous: belief. The belief that nothing in the world could stop them. The mammoth hunt gave the tribe food, fur, and pride. But it gave them something far greater: time. For the first time, their bellies were full, and the night was not only fear, but possibility. They gathered around the fire, the flames painting their faces in gold and shadow. At first, they spoke of the hunt, of the spears and the